Okay, morning everybody. Hope you can hear me okay at the back. It was a bit quiet earlier on, so we've turned the sound up. Hope it's not deafening. Davide, can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm Roger Sarberts from Zynestra. We're a UK software company, and for those who attended the HP session earlier on, you might have heard, or even if you didn't, you may have heard the term hyperconvergence. And effectively, that's what we do. So what I'm going to do in this session is I'm going to talk about what does hybrid IT mean, what do we do, how do we do it, and what's the benefit to you guys, and what are the business challenges it addresses. And at the end, we've got some goodie bags to hand out for those who are interested, and we're on stand 43, which is just down there at the end if you want to come and talk to us in person. So just to introduce Zynestra, we're a UK software company. We're about 4 years old. We're headquartered in Bath, and we're quite unusual in that we are a UK venture capital-backed company. We're not from California. Most people think we are. Even if you go to our website, you might think we're a US company. We're absolutely not. The 6 of us run the business, and you're looking at one of them. We've got about 2,000 users around the world now, in all parts of the world: USA, Asia Pac, New Zealand, China, mainly UK, and continental Europe. And that's pretty good going for a company of our size. We're very tightly aligned with HP, so you'll see some of that as we go through the presentation, and our software is very tightly integrated into the HP ProLiant stack. And as you can see, we're backed by a pretty well-known technology VC company called Octopus Ventures, where we've just closed our 3rd round of funding. And we've won various awards over the last few years for cloud innovation. So before I go into kind of the PowerPoint stuff, I'm going to do a little intro video.
IT challenges. Accessing technology that will support your business's ever-changing requirements feels like a pipe dream. Resources stretched. Budgets are tight and systems get outdated. There's no time to keep on top of new technology or develop good IT strategy. Just trying to keep the lights on is a full-time job. What's needed is a solution that provides control, performance, and future-proofing whilst keeping your data secure. So how do you get there? The brains at Zynestra knew things had to change, so they created some secret sauce. They've taken the best of cloud, the best of on-premise, and delivered hybrid IT that just works. They've delivered an ingenious solution, an appliance that can scale up and down. It connects to the cloud like a gateway, but sits behind your firewall. It's adaptive, secure, lightning fast, and gives you complete control. Delivering integrated IT services, on-premise and in the cloud, right out of the box. Want email in the cloud with local control of your data? Easy. You decide what lives where. Even better, everything that needs to be done is managed securely through the cloud from wherever you are. The Zynestra team built the IT for some of the most sophisticated systems on the planet. They have software DNA. They've thought way ahead of the game with built-in backup and disaster recovery, as well as automatic updates and patching, so IT is always current, secure, and efficient. For people that need things running smoothly, so they can focus on the important things to drive their business forward, Zynestra will deal with the IT that just has to work. Zynestra will keep the lights on.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an intro to what we do, and I'll go into a bit more detail. So what are the challenges for organizations today as we see it? So there are several challenges. Limited resources. Everybody has a limited budget. There's money, time, skills, access to IT resources. Keeping current. We all know the problems of patching servers, updating things, problems with penetration by viruses and things like this. End of life. Everybody's heard of Windows 2003 server end of life, which happened in July. End of life hardware, growth of organizations, acquisitions, and so forth. Keeping working, so high availability, access to data, backup, disaster recovery, compliance. Everybody's heard of the problems with the Safe Harbor Agreement, I guess, which has been publicized the last couple of weeks. And then cloud adoption. and I'll come on and talk about cloud adoption in a while. Cloud has its place, but there are challenges around connectivity and data sovereignty, which people are aware of. So the need for hybrid IT. So this chart gives you an idea of the good things and the bad things. There are great things about public cloud, and everybody's heard of this with Amazon and Azure and so forth. Maintenance free, OpEx model, pay as you go, elastic, you flex, no end of life. The not so good things are you don't control it in the way you would control your own IT. Connectivity, you're reliant on network bandwidth and data sovereignty. Again, where does the data reside? Are you compliant? Are you happy with that? On the local IT side, of course, you've got control. You've got connectivity is less of an issue. Data sovereignty, it sits on your site or sites, so you own it, you manage it. Not so good. You have to build, manage, maintain, buy the licenses, buy the hardware, have staff to manage it, and have CapEx to buy it. And then when it comes to refresh time, you rip and replace and start again. And so the merry-go-round continues. And the more sites you have, the more people, the more complexity, the more expensive it gets. So the basis behind Zynestra was, why can't you have a way of having the best of both worlds? Because both have their pros and cons. Why can't you do something to address both? So that's what hybrid IT is all about. So you think of the slider bar in the middle, how far up the full public cloud do you want to go? Can you go? You might have parts of your business that are managed in the center, central IT, where you have skills, where you might have a data center, but out on the edges, and that could be a branch, think of a retailer, think of a chain of hotels, any remote organization with multiple branches. In many cases, you have limited network access and capacity, limited skills, but you still need local IT. And this is where Zynestra fits in. So what is it? Quite simply, it's one of the HP Tower and Rack ProLiant server range, tightly integrated with the Zynestra hard software stack. The software is all based on Microsoft SPLA licensing and our own software stack. So there are no licenses to buy. It's self-healing, it's cloud managed by Zynestra. There are no IT resources required from the end customer. And it's proactively monitored by Zynestra. So anything goes wrong, even a hardware failure, then we're looking at it. And it's automatically backed up to the cloud. I'll come on to that in a bit more detail in a while, for a fixed monthly fee. And just to put it into context, depending on the size of the site and so forth, this could be as little as £160 a month. So what do we do? So if you remember the previous picture about the on-premise versus public cloud, so on the left-hand side, you can see what the physical Zynestra box on the site would do. So this is the box you plug in behind the firewall on your LAN. So it's a server. So it runs your local applications. You can carve it up into as many virtual machines as you want to. So the box down here, it's running Windows Server or Linux or both. So you can run local applications and local workloads. It provides single sign-on, user and access management, identity access management to the public cloud. So if you were using, for example, Office 365 and Salesforce.com or something else, that's fine. Your user signs in once, has access to all your cloud apps, but also access to your local applications. Content filtering, firewall, file print, security, local backup, and we back up to the cloud as well. So we're trickling the data continuously up to AWS or Azure, normally Azure. So if the worst came to the worst, if you had fire, flood, disaster, hit by a meteorite, you've got your data safe in the cloud. We also reverse backup Office 365 to the local box, so that if there was a problem with connectivity or, heaven forbid, Microsoft's data center, you can still keep in business and still keep your emails running and still have access to all your documentation. So where does it fit? This gives you another kind of view as to where the Zynestra solution fits. So the physical boxes sit on your premise, in your branch office, wherever you're doing business. You can control it from your central IT department or on your local site. So you can be in control of adding users, deleting users, user credentials, password resets, or your chosen IT partner, such as Misco, can do it for you. And we provide technical support at the back end behind this. And it integrates into your network if you have a wide area network, as you can see in the middle here. And we're behind the scenes supporting it. So why us? We talked about the IT challenges earlier on. So the limited resources, keeping current, keeping working, and cloud adoption. Limited resources, this is an OpEx only model. So I mentioned earlier on, there's no cash changing hands up front. This is simply a rental agreement. Think of it like your mobile phone contract. You get your mobile phone contract, you get data, you get SMS, text messages, you get a refresh of the hardware every few years when you want it. And at the end of the contract, you either continue with the contract or you move on to a different contract. And it's exactly the same with Zynestra. No maintenance, and the TCO is far, far, far lower. I'll come on to that in a minute or two, compared to buying, building, ripping, replacing your own infrastructure. Keeping current, it's continuously updated. So you as a customer don't have to worry about the latest version of Microsoft or the latest firewall or the latest antivirus. It's all done automatically and it's all included in the fixed fee with no hidden costs. And it includes the hardware. So it's a 3-year contract and you renew the contract, which all our customers do. Then if you need new hardware or you need to increase the amount of disk space, for example, that can be built into it. So it scales with you. In terms of keeping working, then we have a 99.9% SLA. If there was a disaster on a site and you had to have the hardware replaced, we've obviously got the backup so you can keep running in the cloud and then we'll get a new piece of kit on site. This is fairly rare. We also have customers who run 2 servers side by side for high availability. Security and compliance is built in and there's local cloud backup and DR capability, as I said. So the cloud adoption part, you would control the usage. So you decide where your apps sit, where your data sits, how much you're prepared to put into the public cloud and how much you keep locally. So you maintain the data sovereignty and integrity. And that's quite important for many customers we have in finance, in legal profession, and others who simply have poor network connections and need to keep the lights on and keep the businesses running. So an analogy I like to use is, if you think about the world of IT as it's been for an awfully long time, probably 40 years, in many ways it's a bit like building your own kit car. You design it, you build it, you're responsible for it. If it breaks down, you fix it. You hire full-time mechanics, you pay up front for it. But then what happens if you can't get the bits anymore or people don't have the skills anymore? It's a challenge, right? Now the car industry has moved on, become more industrialized. You buy a standard car, it's cheaper. You can even rent one and hand it back every 3 years and start again. So it's the same with this example here. As opposed to the buy, build, manage yourself, this is, we've industrialized this idea of hybrid IT so that you don't have to worry about the nuts and bolts and the patching, and you can get on to add value in your business, and it's simply an OpEx model and you control it. Now we've calculated quite carefully, and we've been through with our customers, and it's typically 60% cheaper to do it the way that Zynestra does it than buy, build, manage, rip, replace your own. And if you think about typically what happens, could be a replacement. And by the way, this isn't a rip and replace. Zynestra can coexist alongside your existing infrastructure. So if you've got a number of servers or a number of branches with the server, you can pick them off one by one, 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time, and install Zynestra side by side and slowly move towards that model rather than having to go wholesale. So we're not proposing a wholesale move, it's done at your pace. But typical server replacement, you start off at the beginning, you spend a bunch of money on a server, and over the years you've got maintenance costs. Then the server goes end of life and you start again. Yeah? And during that time, you've got ongoing maintenance, you've got software, you've got associated people costs, and everything else. With Zynestra, there's a tiny amount at the beginning, which is typically data migration, so a couple of days of consultancy typically for data migration. And then it's a fixed monthly fee with no end of life. So consequently, as time goes on, you've preserved CapEx at the beginning, no end of life, and the cost difference is enormous. So some of our customers, we typically sell to 3 segments. SMB, you can see some of the names over here on the left-hand side. Education, so schools and colleges, and multi-site enterprise. You can probably recognize some of the names over here. And these are typically, you'd be talking about retailers, hotel groups, energy, oil, gas. You think of anybody with remote offices, sales offices, branch offices. And just a few quotes from what our customers are saying about us, which is always the acid test. It's all very well me standing here telling you how great we are. What do our customers say? And hopefully you can read it. We do what we say. It does what it says on the tin. And a final one from these guys, Joe Public, where they're willing to stand up and say how much money and how more efficient and what an improvement in their environment it was compared to doing the traditional way. So that's the end of my presentation. So if you want to know more, I've got some goodie bags at the front that have a white paper in there that talks about things to consider when looking at server refresh, top 10 considerations when looking at it and thinking about why should you think about hybrid IT as a service. As I said at the beginning, we're down on stand 43, just down there. So come and see us, come and talk to us. We've got a very simple TCO calculator on our website. So if you went to our website, you can quickly plug in a few basic details and see what this would potentially mean to you. It's obviously not the definitive answer, but it would give you some ideas about the sort of savings you could look at. What we don't include in those savings are what that then means for your freed up resources to add value back into your business. Because there's an argument about what should IT people really be doing to add value to business as opposed to fiddling about with servers and storage. So come and see us. Thanks for your time and attention. Please, if you're interested, pick up a bag and come to stand 43. Thank you very much.